What kind of person would you have to be to attract the sort of mate that you want? Now that's an interesting question, isn't it? And the reason I ask this is because it's all well and good writing down the sort of person you want to attract, but that alone isn't going to do it. You'll find that you have to demonstrate certain similar characteristics to the person that you want to attract. So get that paper and pen and write down the values, characteristics, conduct and habits you would need in order to deserve the mate that you have just described. For instance, would you need to be kind, loving, honest, flexible, good at communicating, value-driven, etc. Pause this CD and write down all the qualities that you would need to have to attract the mate of your choice. Okay, so by now you should have a list of the requirements in a mate, and also a list of the requirements that you need to fulfill. It is very important that you ensure that you meet the requirements that you have set out for yourself. It's very unlikely that you will attract another person if you have nothing that attracts them. Makes sense, really, doesn't it? Now that we have these things established, how do you actually go about attracting the sort of mate that you want? Well, it's actually very simple. And the very first thing that you need to do is to put yourself in the place where you are likely to meet your ideal mate. So if you want the country's best squash player, then it would be a good idea to join a squash club. Equally, if you enjoy the bookish type of person, then join one of the ever-increasing book club meetings around the country. All you need to do is to think carefully about where your ideal mate is likely to frequent, and get yourself there. Of course, increasingly popular ways of meeting now include the internet, that allows you to almost shop for the sort of person that you want before buying. Remember, as long as you adopt the qualities that you know will attract a mate, then the likelihood is that they will be equally attracted to you. If you are already in a relationship and strive to make it better, then remember this. You have to find a way from where you are to where you want to be. To close the gap between where you are and where you want to be, you've got to know where you really are. So check back to the list of items that you made earlier about your requirements in a mate, and on a scale of 1 to 10, score your partner. And then score yourself, and I think that you might be surprised as to where you are. You might find it rather surprising when you discover how far away you are from the list that you originally made. We need to examine what to do to cure this difference. Have you ever seen those people who appear to have serial relationships? You know the type, the ones that get really excited at the beginning of the relationship, and after a certain length of time inevitably decide that the one way to go further with it is to leave it. And they take up with another person, and after a while, yes, you've guessed it, they run away again to the next relationship. The problem is they can't run away from themselves, and it's themselves that is causing the problem. How many people do you know like that? I bet you've known a few. Their problem is that it is easier to run away from a relationship than it is to work out the problems. And usually, if they were honest, they're the ones who are always complaining about the partner. Either they complain and say, "Why do I always attract the worst type of men or women?" Or after a while they all turn out the same. Perhaps the first thing that they should have done was to look at their own list and how they manifested to others what they wanted. You see, a lot of people hide their requirements at the beginning of a relationship for fear that the other won't enjoy them, and wonder why later, when their requirements finally come out to play, that their partners don't react in the way that they think that they ought. Anyway, back to current relationships. At any time during your relationship, have you ever felt resistance or resentment rejection, or repression? Probably the answer is yes. According to latest research, those 4 things are the biggest contributor to relationship breakups there is. Remember that you are in a relationship in order to relate to other people. Going back to your requirements list, check and see where you are in comparison to where you want to be. Now here's the difficult bit. You need to have an honest conversation with your partner about ways to meet both your needs and theirs. Make yourself stronger and better, for instance. Give more and focus on their needs for a change. Sometimes, if you find that you are far apart from your partner, you might find yourself making a decision to call it a day. This is very difficult and unpleasant, but it has to be done for your own sake. Remember that you can waste your life in a relationship, and it only brings you pain. As hard as it is, you must, and I repeat, must leave. There are just a few things that I'd like to share with you to finish off this program. I want you to write down 10 things that you like about yourself, things that you approve of, things that you do well, and things that bring you happiness. Write these 10 things down and put them somewhere where you can see them on a daily basis. You don't have to put them on your desk, but put them somewhere at least where you'll be able to look at them at least once a day for the next 10 days. This is very important. A lot of people forget the reasons why others can be attracted to them, and this can lead to an inevitable sense of worthlessness. Although it might sound a little trite, you need to remind yourself of reasons why you love yourself. If you are already in a relationship, then make another list of the things that you need to do to enhance your relationship, and make sure that you actually make a plan to implement them. Make a staged plan whereby you will bring these enhancements online. Well, that brings this CD to an end, and I'm hoping that you benefit enormously from some of the techniques and tools that you have learned whilst listening. Remember one thing, that although this CD may be short, it is packed full of essential requirements that you must follow to have a positive and long-lasting relationship. Now that you know what you want, you're only going to get it if you put these techniques and tools into action immediately. And it is likely that you'll have to listen to this CD on a number of occasions to make sure that you have in your mind what you need to do next. Remember that procrastination will only help you fail. If you start to act today, you will gather immediate momentum, and your relationships will benefit enormously.